I'm Ebrahim Nazier, and I am the workshops manager at the Birmingham Rep Theatre. I manage the workshop where we do carpentry and metalwork, the paint shop where we paint all the scenery, and the props workshop where we build all the props. You have to have a decent amount of knowledge of all of those things to be able to manage them. I worked a lot with my dad, doing lots of welding and doing lots of different types of carpentry. My background is actually in architecture. I studied architectural technology in Cape Town, South Africa, where I'm from, and I worked in architecture for about 10 years before I got into theatre. And it was a natural sort of transition for me. I mean, I loved working on buildings, but what I really loved to do was to work with a lot of creatives and making their designs work, taking it from a level of being a model in a model box or drawings and making it into something bigger and actual and real. That was sort of how I got into theatre. Right, so metalwork mostly relates to the structure of a set piece. So it could be a flat, which is a tall wall, or it could be a deck, or it could be a lamp, for example. But mostly it's the structure that actually supports the set piece. It's the skeleton, and their day would basically be, they'll come in the morning, we'll have a nice cup of tea, and we'll talk about what we're doing for the rest of the day. If they've got something already on the shop floor, they'll continue with that. If they don't, they get a new technical drawing, a fabrication drawing, and they will start making a list of all the lengths of steel they have to cut. They then would start assembling, so they would measure normally where these support members would go, make sure that everything's square, and start tacking the structure together. Similar process for carpentry, but obviously carpentry you work more with wood glue, screws, and you lots of cutting of wood and cutting it to size based on the drawings you get and then assembling it. There's quite a lot of detail that can go into what you do and depending on what actual set piece you're working on. And then there's the odd but fairly regular moment where you have to think out the box, and that's another exciting thing, is where you resolve something that is complex and you come up with a solution and it works. And it's something that spins. You make something spin without, seeing someone is spinning it or, things like that. The intriguing thing about it is that you get to take something that's that small and you're making it into something realistic. So that's the rewarding side of things. And there's nothing like bolt holes lining up, to be honest. Some people might find that weird, but if something works at the end of the day, it's fantastic. It's the good end of the day, basically. Normally, you get a model box, which is a model of what the set's actually going to look like, and with that, you get a set of drawings that the designer did. That would then be taken by someone that does the technical drawings, which could be me or it could be someone else. That would then convert the design into something that you can build off. So making it into a fabrication drawing, putting all the measurements in, making sure the structure works, everything lines up. That part of the job is quite crucial to what then happens after, because if that doesn't work properly, if that's not thought about properly, you can see it throughout the rest of the process. Then the carpenter or metal worker will then take the drawing and build off it. That's roughly what the process is like from a model design to the final process. So this is the model box, and this is what the designer builds to show us what they want. This one is of the good life, and this is the model piece that we'll see downstairs being built. It's a bit out of context, but basically this is what we get, and then we build our scenery off that. So this is a technical drawing of a timber flat, and it's basically to show the carpenters how to build this piece of scenery. So it's got measurements, it's got where the bolt holes are, and all of these things are showed in a 2D format, so it's easy to build off. I'll take you over to show you how far Chris has got with the actual flat. So he's quite far along. He's basically built the structure and now he's preparing it to be clad with 6mm fire retardant ply. You can see he's done some recesses to fix some boss plates to. I could have a peek in there so you can see the structure. But yeah, so that's basically showing the process from model box to drawing to final or pre-final set piece. After that, when the set's built, it normally goes into the paint shop, and then the scenic artist basically makes it beautiful. So they would paint it to what it was actually designed to be. And the things you can do in the paint shop is amazing. A piece of bare wood then turns into something magical. Then normally the set designer comes in to have a look and see if they like it or not. And luckily, most of the time they like it, yeah. You need to have a lot of patience, I think, because you work with a lot of different ideas and a lot of different people, so you need to be able to balance yourself out in that context. In terms of your ability, I think that if you are keen to make things, then you can make things. The advice I would give young people is that if you see something on stage, you always think about what actually happened, how it actually got there. There are things that you don't see backstage that is vital to what happens on stage. I think a lot of youngsters don't quite understand the processes that happen in the background before things get on stage. And I think there's a lot of different roles out there and a lot of different opportunities in theatre that is not performing. So I would say, if you watch a play, think about how that wall got on stage and think about who's turning the lights on, who's turning the lights off. Think about how someone knows when to go on stage. Those are all important things that make the actual play happen. Obviously, the actors and directors and the creators are all very important, but there's a core that hold things together, and that, I think, would be what happens backstage. Apprenticeship's normally good, a good way in. We had an apprentice in the workshop, and she excelled. She was brilliant at carpentry and welding. But I think if you've got a good head for putting things together, I think that's the main thing, that there's a foot in the door, basically. If you can find a place that's willing to give you the opportunity and you have a technical brain, then that's one of the ways in. I don't think you need a university diploma or anything like that to get into building things. I think there's something you can learn on the job. The one that really stood out to me was a comedy about a bank robbery. The set was everything moved. Everything moved and things folded in on each other, and it was fun to watch. And at points it was quite tricky to make the set work, but it was very rewarding seeing that on stage. There was a massive truck that was pushed on stage and it folded open into a room, and then it folded closed again and it was pushed off stage. And it's that kind of set gymnastics that would also gets me excited, really. So that's the one show that, in terms of set, that I really loved. It's lots of fun, basically. I think that's the one thing I wanted to get across. I'm talking a lot about carpentry and drawings and stuff and processes, but it's a lot of fun working with a lot of lovely people and a lot of different people. For me, that's a very important part of the job. Working with many different creatives and many different beautiful things in terms of sets and scenery. The variety of that is that you never know what you'll get in terms of design. It could be something extremely complicated or something very simple to do, and it's a quick turnaround. So it's that reward at the end where you watch the play that you've worked on for 6 weeks and you see people enjoying it. That's in a way the most important thing, is actually when you sit in the theatre and you see people enjoying it. It's perfect. It's great. It makes me feel like I've done something good.